I want to bring up the person that's going to bring up the award recipient. She is formerly from the groundbreaking show, the show I loved, Queer as Folks. I love that show. Hal Spark is my friend. And she's now starring in the ABC dramedy Make It or Break It. Please welcome actress, activist, and now my friend, Miss Michelle Clunie. Come on, girl!
Well, I'm sorry, thank you. I'm sorry my voice is raspy. I've been yelling at a protest in Los Angeles, but hopefully you can still hear me. I am here to talk about my friend, Peter Yacobellis. When I was going through what I should say, his resume is so impressive for someone who is so young, and I don't want to intimidate anyone because I know I was very intimidated. So I'm just going to run through some of his accomplishments because otherwise we would be here all night. Peter Yacobellis, while working for the governor, pushed vigorously to advance marriage equality legislation. That's an understatement. Worked to advance protections of transgender state workers, ensured LGBT media always had a seat at press conferences and requests for interviews by LGBT media outlets were fulfilled. Worked to proclaim Trevor Project Day in New York. Also, to proclaim a special day in recognition of LGBT community centers, was the go-to guy in the governor's administration for issues related to funding for LGBT resources, responses to hate crime and other needs of the community, and ensured all LGBT groups had access, not just the elite ones. And he ensured the statewide internship program included openly LGBT youth. So, Peter also helped to create the governor's AIDS Walk team that raised thousands of dollars each year. And most importantly, and this is why I love him, because he is relentless, he has been that loud voice that we need so much, that pure, loud voice inside the administration, pushing successfully for more participation by a sitting governor in events of significance to the LGBT community than any other time in history, including the first time a governor has ever marched in and grand marshaled the New York City Pride Parade. He managed Sean Maloney's run for AG, as well as did LGBT outreach for Senator Boxer, raising over $2 million in campaign funds, and he's worked to teach anti-discrimination and anti-harassment policies to several retail companies and campaigned ruthlessly for Hillary Clinton. Hillary, let it go. I'm not going to cry. And that's where I come in. I met Peter while campaigning in Pittsburgh for Hillary. He picked me up at the airport, and I was overworked and overly caffeinated, and along with Sharon Gless, my co-star, we yapped and talked our heads off all the way to the city. He dragged us through a pub crawl that was about, 15 bars. We stomped and yelled, and we then ended up having dinner till 3 in the morning and chatting. I instantly fell in love. I think Sharon wanted to adopt him. I think she almost did. And we kept in touch. I went back to California. The Prop 8 debacle unfolded, and while I was attending rallies out there, we were texting pictures back and forth, and he texted me a picture of the rally he organized with thousands in attendance for marriage equality in New York. When I moved to New York that summer, I received a phone call from my friend, activist Robin McGeehee, saying she had been kicked off the PTA at her school because she was gay and she wanted to throw a march in Washington and invite 250,000 of her nearest and dearest. She said, "Will you throw the first fundraiser for the march?" I said, "Of course, how long do I have?" She said, 9 days. I said, "Oh my God." I called Peter. And he hosted it. We hosted it together. Within 2 days, he had secured a venue and sent out, sorry, I keep wanting to cry. I'm sorry, I'm gonna lose my voice. And he sent out 3,000 invitations all over New York in 3 days. We threw a party with Cleve Jones, who started the AIDS quilt, David Mixner, Lance, who wrote the screenplay Milk, and that night in that room, the wheels were put into motion to stage the recent LGBT March on Washington, and with the invincible Judy Shepard speaking at the Capitol, the first piece of LGBT legislation passed, the hate crime bill, or rather the Matthew Shepard Act. We marched beside one another towards the Capitol that day, and he gave me the best advice of my life: to cut my speech in half. Advice I'm obviously not taking tonight. Sorry, Peter. Sorry, everyone. Through our various conversations, we have talked about so many things, and we talked about how Robert F. Kennedy had mentioned that in 40 years we would have an African-American president in the White House, and almost 40 years to the day we did. We talked about how in our lifetime we predict that we will have our first gay and lesbian in the White House. I said 50 years, Peter said 20, but that's Peter. He knows that in order to gain true equality, we have to dream that big. We have to open our minds and our hearts to break through our own images of ourselves, to bust the ceiling wide open, and to know that there should and will not be any place we cannot go. That is our movement, and that is forward-looking, and that is Peter. Approaching my 40th birthday, okay, we can cut that, never mind. He surprised me, I'll put it like that. Well, tonight, Peter, we surprise you with a short video. Surprise. Oh, hey! Okay. You make me nervous. Peter, I know that with you working with leaders across the nation, that equality is so within our reach. It's right around the corner. That with your intensity and passion combined with your level head, we are almost there. So we honor you with this Homegrown Hero Award.